Morning, everyone. I'm Corporal Ross Blair, and I'm a reservist infantry with the 48th Highlanders of Canada. Thank you for inviting me once again to speak at your Remembrance Day ceremony today. I joined the Canadian Forces Army Reserve in December of 2010. In those past 3 years, I've had many varying experiences, from marching over 30 kilometers with 80 pounds of gear in the boiling Georgian sun, to trying to sleep in sub-zero Arctic temperatures, the freezing wind howling over me. I've made many of the best friends I'll ever have, and experienced the indescribable pain of laying one of them to rest. In our most famous poem about Remembrance Day, Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae delivers powerful images about poppies growing beneath rows of crosses in Flanders fields. These poppies are like drops of blood shed to secure our freedom and peace. At the end of the poem, John McCrae delivers another powerful image, an image of the war dead passing the torch of service from their graves to the comrades who will continue the good fight. It is a plea to keep alive the memory of those who have fallen, who have given their lives, and it is a plea that we never quit pursuing our desire to create a better and more peaceful world. Today I would like to talk about how the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces continue symbolically to pass that same torch of service from one generation to another in war zones and on peacekeeping missions. Those of us in the military today receive this torch from the many veterans and fallen Canadians who served with honor before us, and we will, in turn, pass this torch to Canadians who will take our places in the future to keep Canada safe. Through scores of peacekeeping missions, to our combat experience in Afghanistan, the torch of service is held high. The traditions embedded in the Canadian military culture continue with vigor today. Our military is steeped with tradition. In 1919, after the First World War, where we lost nearly 65,000 Canadians on the battlefields such as Vimy Ridge, the Somme, Passchendaele, and Ypres, Canada instituted the Memorial Cross, or more commonly called the Silver Cross, to be presented to mothers and widows of fallen soldiers and sailors as a memento of personal loss and sacrifice. The tradition continued through the Second World War, when we lost another 44,000 Canadians in the Battle of the Atlantic, the Battle of Britain, and Hong Kong, and in campaigns in Northwest Europe, throughout Italy, and elsewhere. As we look back on Canada's history, we see it is rich with acts of uncommon valor during uncommon times by common Canadian citizens. Today, we remember and pay tribute to these common Canadians who answered the call of duty to face evil and fight tyranny, and all too often lose their lives in lands far from home. I would like to point out 3 special groups. First, I would like to address our wounded and injured, both physically and mentally. To these men and women I say, please know the deep compassion, respect, and appreciation Canada and its citizens have for you. You are struggling to carry the torch of service with honor, loyalty, and true patriot love. You face great challenges in combat and conflict, and now you face the great challenge of recovery, and we know that you will meet that challenge and beat this new enemy with the same fortitude you had fighting the enemy overseas. For this we honor you. Second, I'd like to recognize another special group of Canadians, our families of the fallen. When a Canadian gives the ultimate sacrifice in combat or because of combat, the family experiences the ultimate sorrow. It is impossible to understand the anguish of a parent, a spouse, or a child when the news of the loss of a loved one is delivered. On behalf of these men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces, I salute you. You have our utmost respect. Your sons, daughters, spouses, fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters will not be forgotten. The third group I recognize today is you, the people in this audience. Thank you for being here to commemorate the lives of our fallen and to honor our veterans. You may ask yourself, what more can I do to honor our veterans? First and foremost, thank a veteran when you meet one, and if there is time, listen to their story. Ladies and gentlemen, although we live in comfort and peace in Canada, the fight against evil and tyranny is not over. Since the attacks on September 11, 2001, there have been hundreds of other acts of terrorism, from the London public transit bombings in 2005 to this year's Boston Marathon bombings. There are many people and organizations that have no problem repressing other people or attacking innocent civilians. Therefore, we cannot rest as Canadians. Our vigilance must be perpetual. The torch of service that we carry has passed from generation to generation of Canadians and still carried proudly by the men and women of the Canadian Armed Forces today. This torch that represents our honor, dedication, loyalty, and valor is well described by John McCrae in his poem. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Thank you.
Would you please now stand for the ceremony of the laying of the wreath and the playing of the last post.